Welcome into another edition of the Demon Huddle presented by the Cross Financial Group. Jason Pugh joined, as always, to start things off by Northwestern State head coach Blaine McCorkle. And Coach, just go ahead and kind of rip the Band-Aid right off Saturday night against East Texas A&M. Not the performance you wanted to see, and you even said it kind of after the game, not the performance by far that you expected from your team.
No, it wasn't. It was a bad night for us, and I thought we would play better. So we didn't take advantage of some opportunities we had in the game. You know, we didn't complement each other well, starting from the opening kickoff to the first drive. Excuse me, but it was kind of one of those nights, and hopefully we learn from it. You know, and you know we talk about it all the time. We're a very youthful team, and that showed up. You know, and when you're that young, your margin for error is much smaller, and we've got to learn that. We've got to be sounder as a coaching staff, probably have to be a little simpler, put our guys in better position. So we've got to look ourselves in the mirror too and say, all right, what can our guys truly execute with where they are in their progression right now? We don't have an old football team, so we can't coach them like an old football team. So we were kind of reevaluating some things in all three phases to help put them in a better position and maybe simplify some things. And we've got to learn from it. You know, wasn't what we wanted. It wasn't what we were looking for. It's very frustrating, but it is part of the growth process, and the rebuild is, you know, you're probably going to have nights like that sometimes, you know, and I give East Texas A&M a lot of credit. You know, they didn't have a great record coming in, but they played a brutal schedule, maybe worse than ours. I don't know. It'd be if you flip the coin there. But they're a good team. You know, they're big, they're physical, they're very athletic, and we talked about that going in, that we knew they had really good players. We had to be the better team, and we weren't the better team with some of the things I was talking about earlier. But, you know, you kind of look at their roster and they're too deep. They had one sophomore in their too deep on offense, and the other 21 were juniors and seniors. The defense had two sophomores. Everybody else was juniors and seniors. You know, we played 12 freshmen on offense and 4 sophomores. You know, so it was the exact opposite. So we've got to grow up fast, you know, and we're kind of tired of waiting on guys to grow up, but you have to wait well, you know, and that's where our program is right now. And we're going to do everything we can to get better this week, put our kids in good position, because they continue to fight hard. They are playing hard against Houston Christian this week, and see what happens.
One thing that we talked about it, you know, last time we had a home game, we coming off a win. You're talking about having that kind of 24-hour rule. Is it the same thing for this, or is it even less time when you have, I don't know if the word disappointing is maybe the word to use, but when the performance wasn't up to the level you wanted to, is it easier to flush it quicker with a young team?
Yeah, you don't have a choice. You don't have time to sit around and pout, you know, and we sit around and feel sorry for ourselves. Things won't get better, they'll get worse. So you have to wake up the next morning and hold your head up, stick your chest out, and go to work to make things right. So to sit around and feel sorry for ourselves is a waste of time, you know, and it's unacceptable. And I don't think anybody in our program is doing that. And, you know, I think our kids are resilient because of their youth. You know, they're excited to be playing college football, and that's a good thing. So they're excited to go play Houston Christian this week. And I think the majority of our supporters are the same way. You know, they recognize that. And, you know, I told our team and I told our staff that, you know, the first half of year 2 here, you know, year 1 was rough, as everybody expected. That was no surprise. But I don't think I got more encouragement and support via text by people stopping by the office after the game, whatever, than I did Saturday night after the East Texas game, because I think a lot of people truly realize where our program's coming from, but more importantly, where we're going, and they know that there's going to be bumps in the road. So, you know, using this venue, I'd like to really thank all those people. Just the unbelievable amount of text messages and support that came after that game really caught me off guard, and it makes you realize that people of age and wisdom recognize, and I kind of shared that with our team because they need to understand that people of age and wisdom know what they're looking at. They've seen a lot of things, and they know where our program's been, and they know where we're going, and we truly are a one day at a time, keep getting better program, and that's what we're going to do.
And I think it's important for those people out there that did reach out to you, I think, to give that other side, because we live in a here and now culture. I don't have my cell phone on me, but you can pick that thing up and tweet at you or text you if you have your number, and come with a completely opposite side. So I think they're helping give them a little perspective. Also, another way that you're having to kind of coach this team along, not just in on-field things, but off the field and life and everything else, because you do have, as we've talked about, it is a brutally young roster.
Yeah, perspective is a beautiful thing, and if you can have perspective, it gives you a little bit different frame of mind. It gives you a little bit different motivation. We're kind of living in the hope for the what's not seen right now, because the things we can't see that are coming, if you can see them in your mind, it gives you a lot of encouragement, and then they are coming. So yeah, it does give you some perspective, and we've said it before, we want to win, and we want to win right now. Every game that we go out there, we're trying with every fiber of our being to win the football game and put our kids in the best position, but we are in the unique situation that we didn't have to quick fix it. And with that, there are going to be growing pains. We felt some of that the other day. We knew that. And waiting is hard. Waiting is hard, but you have to wait well, because if you don't, you'll start taking steps back, and we're not going to take steps back, and I don't think that we have. I think we got completely outmatched the other night, made some mistakes that young teams make, and we paid for it. So we'll grow from it.
Still learning to play complementary football as well.
That's right.
You mentioned it. We talked after halftime there on the field. You did have that one complementary piece in the last 2 minutes of the first half. Fernando Washington, the amazing interception,
Yeah.
and then really the most sustained drive. And that's something I think, again, when you look at the numbers going in, 21% on third down for the offense against an East Texas team that gave up 48%. Thought that was an area you probably thought you could take advantage of in terms of sustaining drives, but you did get a little flash there, and you got some flashes on that drive, especially maybe with some big play material that is in there.
Yeah, well, they gave up 48%, but two of those games were Florida State and SMU. So you have to, again, perspective. What are we really looking at? There's stats, there's damn stats, and there's liars, as they say. And so you can't get wrapped up in that at this level this early, because things are so skewed. And we'll see the same thing this week with Houston Christian. Some of their numbers we can't really look at, because you got a game against Nebraska, and then you got a game against Arkansas Baptist. So who are they really? You have to watch the film and just kind of learn how they are, and don't get wrapped up in the stats. You can kind of look at the stats a little bit more realistically towards the end of the year, when everybody's gone through conference plays and things start to balance out a little bit. But yeah, we're not good on third down. The complementary football piece, yes, we did have the long drive after Fernando's incredible interception, so I was proud of our team in that moment to go down and score points before the half and manage the clock well, and did a really good job. I was proud of our offense in that moment, but where we didn't do it was the opening kickoff. We get a 65-yard return, get really good field position, have a third and manageable, and have a false start. Now you're in third and long, and now you miss a field goal. From going up 7-0 or at worst 3-0, now you have no points, and they've got momentum. We block a punt, get the ball in really good field position, can't capitalize, have a couple MAs on some routes that kind of put us in a bad spot, and Abram was trying to make the most of it, miss another field goal that should have been makeable. So at worst, at absolute worst, we should have gone into halftime 17-9, and we didn't. So we've got to capitalize on those things, and as we continue to grow and learn, the good thing is those things are fixable, and I think we can do that. So we'll learn from it, and we'll get better.
When you talk about going into HCU, and we'll get into that now, that's a program that's been around about now 10, 11 years. Yeah. So you talk about having that long-range vision and that ability to, yes, you want to win now, but also balance that with what's coming. Very similar from what that program went through. In the last couple of years, they've kind of come out on the other side of that. So maybe not a true comparison, but something somewhat similar.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. As you look at our program, nobody in the country can really compare where the programs are to ours, because ours is so uniquely different, and that's okay. But yeah, they're a newer program. I think 2012 maybe was their first year, somewhere in there. And Vic Shealy, who's a good friend of mine and a great football coach, ran that thing for a long time, got them off the ground and running. And then they had, with a one winning season a couple years ago, and then the coach left and they promoted a guy. So they've been through a lot of turnover and change, but Coach Bechtel there now, like myself, is in his second year. He was there as an assistant the year before, so probably a little bit farther along at that university than we are here. But they're doing a good job with it. They're bringing in good players. They've got good schemes. He and I have a lot of history. We were both in the Division III ASC together, competing to get each other for a while. So he's a neat guy. I call him a friend in the profession, and we swap notes a lot about where our programs are and trends and things like that. So, but yeah, they're doing a good job with that program, and they're a talented team.
You're in an interesting situation from a scheduling standpoint. I don't know how much, if this is just the schedule nerd in me when you look at stuff, but last week against East Texas A&M, this week against Houston Christian, and a couple more, I believe 2 or 3 more games the rest of the way, are repeats in terms of sites. So you'll go down to Houston for a second straight year. East Texas A&M came over here for a second straight season. Does it click at any point that we literally did this a year ago, or is that something that's just kind of one of those
Yeah.
weird things that we notice.
No, there is value in that. There is. And, next week or next year it will all change as the schedule changed a little bit because we'll pick up UTRGV and all that stuff. But no, there is some comfort in that. Usually you don't get that till your third year in a conference because you get the home away. But, a chunk of our players went to Houston Christian last year. They know the locker room, they know the field, they know the atmosphere, they know the CVS pharmacy behind us. So that there is some comfort in that. Sometimes when you go to a place for the first time, you do a little bit more digging. You call some people that have been there. Hey, what's the locker room like? What's the distance? What's the surface like? All those things. But we know what we're getting into there, and that definitely helps.
Well, let's hope. Last year you didn't have to use the CVS.
That's right.
Let's hope you don't have to again.
right,
That's
yeah.
always the goal, is to not have to go right around the corner.
That's right, yeah.
And pick something up. But as our good buddy Patrick Netherton will continue to tell me, our first trip down there for baseball, he did send me running down to get duct tape. So
there you go.
We know it's got duct tape, and it does not have hand warmers. So
that's right.
They got a lot of stuff you do need. But
Yep.
Coach, we always appreciate your time. And when we come back, we'll meet with defensive coordinator Matt Connor. You're watching the Demon Huddle, presented by Cross Financial here on YouTube.
Super One Foods is proud to be named the official grocery store of the Northwestern State University Demons. No matter where you gather to watch the game, we've got everything you need at Super One Foods, all at super low prices. Plus, you can order online and enjoy same-day pickup with our convenient curbside service. Talk about a game changer. Score big when you shop at Super One Foods, your official NSU Demons grocery store.
Welcome back into the Demon Huddle, presented by the Cross Financial Group, now joined by Northwestern State Defensive Coordinator Matt Connor. And Coach, kind of like we did with Coach McCorkle, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and get into the game against East Texas.
Yep.
The performance not what you really expected, and Coach said it after the game. He said, did not see that coming. I'm assuming that was pretty much the whole feeling in the locker room.
Yeah, I can echo that. We thought we did not see that coming. We didn't show up and perform the way we expect to. Players have to be ready to go. Coaches have to get them ready to go, and that's as much on me. We get to put our head down, go back to work, and try to get it right. And you can't sit around and dwell on it. You only have one choice: that's go get better and try to win the next one.
At that point, how quickly do you flush? Is it just simply after review of film and then you just move forward?
Yeah, I mean, there's some things that, last night with the defensive staff and then the defense, our players that, you have to show them to correct. There's a lot of mistakes on there that are correctable, which, you don't like to make a mistake, but, if you're making a mistake, make sure it's making one that you can correct. And there was a lot of things on there that we can clean up and we can correct, but once those corrections are made, we dive into Houston Christian and move this thing forward.
I know you're the defensive coordinator, but it's one of your guys out there to take the opening kick return. What did you see from Antonio Hall in that play?
Yeah, just his explosiveness. I mean, he's a guy that when the ball's in his hand, if he has a crease, he can get up the field pretty quick, and we've seen him do that in practice time and time again. So it's pretty cool to see him open the game that way.
I believe he had the block field goal return, I believe, against Tulsa last year. That was him up the sideline. So find a way to get the ball in his hands, maybe a little bit more special teams. And you'd surely take an interception from him that's not in the end zone.
Yep.
He could bring it out. But let's go to the interception. And we've talked about it time and time again, especially with this group. It seems like the turnovers do come in the red zone or in the green zone, even in this situation. But Fernando Washington, let's not just talk about that. Let's talk about the physical effort to make the play he did. That's one of those things you're typically seeing if you're playing college football 26 and make you want to throw your controller if you're on the other side.
Yeah, he really strained to get up there and get that one. I was proud of him. That's just the ability he has. Fernando has that knack of being able to, make explosive plays on defense, and it's why he's so effective. But he did a really good job there, just sinking underneath coverage and down in the high red and getting up, elevating, and showing his athleticism and being able to come down with the football in a very critical moment right there before half to get the ball back to the offense and let them go down and kick the field goal.
We've talked about it seemingly the last couple of weeks, pretty much since that stretch of Minnesota-Cincinnati. We know that there's a lot of bumps and bruises and maybe some deeper bumps and bruises again on that defensive side of the ball, but you did get a couple of guys back this week. So Tell me about trying to mix those guys in after a third of the season, especially some of the guys that hadn't played yet, got their first action Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, you see, the description we used was with a couple of those guys, you saw some game one mistakes because it was game one for them. And that's completely natural. And those guys will continue to progress and just get better every week. And we just got to catch them up to the rest of the guys. It was his first time they've been on the field for a year, and you could see that in a little bit of their tackle, a little bit of their run fits. But they did a good job, and they will progress and they will catch up with the rest of the group. And we're really excited to have who we do have back.
I'm going to ask you the same thing. We asked Coach McCorkle. It's a bit of a quirk of the schedule this year that several road trips and several home games are the same as they were last year. I think there's only 2 of the 8 that are truly flipped this year, and one of those that stayed the same is going to Houston Christian. It'll come at a different point of the year. Last year was the season finale. This time it's week 2 of conference. Going somewhere back-to-back, does it give a feeling of, comfort's probably not the right word, but familiarity?
Yeah, absolutely it does. Our coaching staff's been there once. Our a majority of our players took that trip last year, and so they know what it looks like. They know what it feels like. They know where to go. I think probably as important is we went to Houston a couple of weeks ago to play Prairie View, same time kickoff, and so we get Dan on the show. He could probably elaborate on this a little bit, but it's really copy-paste from that trip we just took. And so as far as timing and the hotel and everything, the guys, they've done that before, and it's going to be almost identical to the trip we just got back from 2 weeks ago.
Well, the good news is I believe you're a little closer.
A little bit.
Stadium to hotel, and you won't have to go quite as far out. But speaking of going to Houston, there are a couple of guys on that defense who are from Houston, who have a chance to go home. When you have a player in that situation, I'm thinking of a guy like a Clinton Anakuru, who's from Houston. How do you balance or get them to balance maybe the emotions of going home and playing when there's a guy that previous stop probably didn't play a lot of places close to there. Now he's going directly back to his home city, but balance that with still, it's a business trip.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Clinton won't have a problem with that, and any of the guys that are from Houston. I mean, we've got a mature group. They'll handle that just fine. I mean, it's just a great opportunity for him, and I hope his whole family gets to come out and watch him play. But I don't think that becomes a distraction with the guys that we have.
This team, so it is a very mature team, even with the youth on this roster.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now your side's a little different because you do have the majority of the veterans on this team are on your side, so that does help your side a little bit. As we get into Houston Christian, again, kind of the same thing. You do get to see a very similar situation from them last year. They do have the same coaching staff there for the most part. Head coach Jason Bechtel and everything is still there. Roster-wise, are they one of the ones that stayed relatively similar to last year?
I think they've got quite a bit of new faces there. Offensively, scheme-wise, they're pretty much identical to what they did last year. New quarterback, a few new pieces on the offensive line, some new receivers, and so personnel's a little bit different. Schematics pretty much the same as last year.
Give you a little bit of is it in that part of the chess match though? So they've seen you, and you've seen them. So now, how does that affect? Is it little tweaks you look to make? Is it you still go back and study the film from this year because obviously personnel will be a little different, but challenges in doing that from year 1 to year 2?
Yeah, I think it just gives us an idea of what we did well last year versus them, what they did well versus us, as we get ready to prepare to put this game plan together. But I think it still goes back to personnel. Who are they trying to get the ball to? Who's dangerous when they have the ball in the hand, and how do we need to approach this quarterback as far as coverage versus pressure, and that's all things that we will wrap our minds around in the defensive staff room, and by the end of the week we'll be ready to go.
Cut, copy, and paste.
Yeah.
All right. Coach, as always, we appreciate your time, and we come back on the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial. We'll be joined by Northwestern State Offensive Coordinator Carson Stewart.
Whether it's in the trailer, behind the camera, or on the air, NSU has a place for you. Learn the ins and outs of an ESPN broadcast while getting a full-fledged education in sports media or broadcast journalism. Northwestern State University. New media, journalism, and communication arts. Learn more at nsula.edu/new media.
Welcome back into the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial Group here on YouTube. Joined now by Northwestern State Offensive Coordinator Carson Stewart. And Coach, we've done it twice. We're going to do it a third time. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off and jump right in. Moments of good things Saturday night. Finishing drive, sustaining drive, something probably still on the to-do list for this offense.
Yeah, no question. Consistency is a big word for us this week because we had a lack of that Saturday night against East Texas. So have to be more consistent and take advantage of the opportunities when we do get them.
Speaking of that, we saw a couple of things. We talked with it post-game with Coach McCorkle. Some young guys that got in. I mean, young is a relative term on this team even still. But guys like Jimmy Duncan, who's a true freshman, Brendan Webb, who's a true freshman, Trevor Allen is a true freshman. Those three guys certainly had their moments. Go back to that end of the drive, end of the first half drive. Jimmy Duncan, the big catch coming out of the end zone. Brendan Webb on a reverse later in the game that set up the only touchdown for this team. But when you see those guys and those flashes, it gives you something you can kind of dream on a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt. It allows you to see the big picture. And all those guys you just named and more have an extremely bright future here. And we're excited about that. Now we just have to learn how to do those things more consistently in the game.
From your standpoint, Coach McCorkle talked about it. He got a lot of texts. He got a lot of pick-me-ups kind of throughout the evening and Saturday evening into Sunday morning. For a team that is very young and for an offense that's very young, I mean, we've talked about it. We know we're the veteran side of the ball. It's on the defensive side of the ball for this team. But how important it was for some of your guys that do have that very youthful side of the ball, for them to hear that and gain maybe a different perspective, because we know kids these days and a lot of people too, it's win now, win now, win now. And people can't wait, but to have some of that perspective imparted to that group, how important was it?
Perspective is a great way of saying it and looking at it. You put yourself in those guys' shoes, and they're giving us everything that they can give us throughout the week. And then come game time, we still have to capitalize on some things. But just proud of the way that our guys go to work every day. They show up, they do what they're coached to do, and we can just keep improving on that. And we'll see that result happen pretty quick.
We've talked about Trevor. Let's talk about Trevor. We talked about Jimmy and Brendan kind of more so, but as a running back that hadn't seen any action through the first 4 games, kind of earned his way up there. What did you see from him Saturday night?
Yeah, again, a lot of promise. He's an extremely talented young running back. He did get the nod there for a few good plays in that game, and he made some plays. He had the one to our sideline there, swing pass, and got us a good first down there. We needed one bad. So excited to see him get in the game and do some things.
Talked about the youth, and we'll go back to that, but let's go to one of the veterans. It was toward the end of the game, but Ty Moore had another big reception. And he's a guy that sometimes gets overlooked in terms of what he does once the ball's in his hands. But we've seen it a couple of times, Johnny on the spot. But it seems to be a guy that when you need to make a play down the field right now, he's kind of become that guy.
Yeah, Ty Moore's a football player. And he plays with passion, and he plays with grit, and he's extremely, extremely energetic on game day. So anytime you can get a ball to a guy like that, you're doing something right.
We'll go back to the youthful side. We've talked about the skill guys, but those linemen, those are really, it's hard to grow up in a sense in those trenches, but how have the Logan Bradys and the Raleigh Jacksons, how have they stepped forward this year in terms of their progression?
Experience is helping them a lot, and they're getting plenty of that experience. Keeping them healthy is a big thing, but every single day you see them do something better than the previous day. And if they keep building on that, the sky's the limit for those guys in that room.
As you look toward HCU, I mean, again, it's kind of a similar situation. You go back there for a second straight year. Do you remember in your coaching career where you've gone to a place like that? Second straight year, typically it is flipping back and forth.
In the regular season, probably not. I'd have to go back to playoffs and state championships when I was coaching high school ball. That's just a different element to it, though. But No, back-to-back years. Maybe one time we were in the ASC going to Hardin-Simmons or McMurray, but in Abilene. But no, this is definitely a little bit different.
Well, the good news is it's a lot shorter from Natchitoches to Houston than it is from Jackson to Abilene.
That's right.
Maybe not as direct, 'cause you just get on I-20 and go at that point. But when you go back down there, and it'll be a little bit more familiar for you. So, I mean, does that breed a little bit of confidence in just for Carson Stewart, the play caller, or Carson Stewart, the coach?
Yeah, there's less unknown. You kind of know what you're getting yourself into, players, coaches alike, and support staff. So when you know, and that makes you feel pretty good.
What do you see from an HCU team that did have some turnover on the roster this year?
Yeah, they
from last
did.
year?
They did have some turnover, and that's kind of to be expected at certain spots this day in college football. But I think they rotate a good bit of defensive linemen up front, extremely athletic in the back end, and they do a lot. They're coached very, very well. We know some of their staff on the defense side of the ball from previous years and meetings, but they're going to be coached up pretty good.
Anything in particular you're looking forward to on this trip?
Getting a win and come back home.
All right. That's Carson Stewart wrapping things up here. Thank you for watching Week 7 of the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial here on YouTube.